you're doing well. It's Ashwin. How are you? Today, I'm going to be bringing you a mini review and a brand overview of an Indonesian bootmaker who has become and has been really one of my favorite bootmakers since I discovered them last year. And I'm going to feature this shoe as well as one other. The brand is Renavgoodsco, and they can be found on Instagram. That's Renavgoodsco, Renav Goods Company, basically, but Renavgoodsco. And this is their most popular model, although they have a number of models of shoes and boots, essentially made from both local and imported leathers from around the country. This particular model is their DRB 1006. That is their derby model. This happens to be a derby built with a brogued cap toe. So the broguing is the definition you see here on the edge of the cap here. And this is made using a beautiful shell cordovan. This is actually a crust shell cordovan from Conceria Chloe in Italy. And so boot and shoemaking, as you might imagine, even at the small and independent level, has become essentially an international venture where companies based out of Indonesia or elsewhere will import leathers from places like Italy or the US or elsewhere and assemble these beautiful creations based off of your own desires in terms of design. And so I purchased this pair to compete in the Stitch Down Premium Patina Thunderdome. So if those of you who do not know the Stitch Down Premium Patina Thunderdome, go to stitchdown.com and learn all about it. But the bottom line is it's a community of aficionados of shoes and boots, particularly rugged workwear style boots and shoes, who are now going to be competing if you sign up for the Thunderdome. I think you have to have a subscription, but if you sign up, the idea is that you're going to wear a pair of shoes as much as possible over the course of the fall and winter of this coming year and see how the shoes patina. So patina in the boot and shoe community, in this particular rugged boot and shoe community, is a little different than patina that classic men's shoes typically are described as having. So sometimes patinas are applied by a shoemaker and sometimes patinas are acquired with regular wear. And in this case, particularly in the boot community, most people value acquired patina, meaning that you wear the shoes, they age accordingly, and you show them off for the wear that you develop. So crust shell cordovan is renowned for developing an aggressive patina. And this leather is kind of unique. It's not your typical cordovan with its high gloss shine. This is essentially unfinished, unglazed cordovan. I'm trying to bring it as close as possible so you can kind of see that it almost has a nap, a little bit like smooth chamois leather or a very, very low nap suede. Something like that. But the bottom line is it has a kind of different vibe to it. And I have not worn these shoes at all because I'm going to start wearing them for the competition. But even just in handling them, you can see some of the changes that are happening. So I imagine this shoe leather will darken over time and develop its own characteristics. And I'm hoping that I can compete in that Thunderdome with the patina that develops and maybe win a pair of new shoes or boots as a result. So we'll see. So take a look at the Stitch Down Patina Thunderdome. But getting back to Renav Goods, let's talk a little bit about this shoe, which I essentially designed with Renav, which is run by Ray Naviri, who is an awesome guy, really, really helpful, really customer-centric, and just a great guy. Anyways, this shoe is the DRB 1006. It's a 5-eyelet cap toe brogue derby. This is made using a Veltschuen 270-degree welt. So you can see that the Veltschuen welt has the leather folded over the welt here and stitched down in two different layers with about 50% of the shoe stitched down. There's actually another layer of leather that's incorporated with the cap toe here. And that leather layer goes to right about here. And then the stitching continues as a single layer to about 270 degrees around the shoe. You can see that on that side. So the stitch down welt, in this case, is considered a Veltschuen construction that goes 270 degrees around the edge of the sole there. And the back heel is glued. This has a block heel meaning it's kind of got a chunky, blocky look to it. Basically, it doesn't have any taper. Pretty traditional styling for a workwear shoe. It has a Dr. Soul Rock Horde full sole. So Dr. Soul, there's the branding right there that you can see. Rock Horde full sole. So you can kind of look that up. It's a very rugged, robust bottom that takes a long time to wear. And I'll show you the other pair of shoes I got last year, which turned me on to Renavgoods. This has rawhide laces, though it also comes with dark brown cotton, typical standard laces. You can see, hopefully, the branding in there of Renavgoods. It's a little hard to see, but that's the idea, is the branding is actually inside there and has contrast stitching on the upper. It's got this nice double row of stitches, triple row back here. Certainly not perfect stitching. You can see some errors in sort of spacing of the lines here. You can also see a little bit of a defect here, but in this style of shoes and boots, that type of variation is acceptable. Now, there are people coming out of Japan, others like Underhood, who Ostmo boots as well out of Norway, where they're really focused on precision and stitching. And Ray and his team are quite interested in value that. They excel at the density of the stitching on the stitch down or Veltruin construction here. You can see how dense the stitching is. This is probably between 7 and 8 stitches per inch in terms of stitch density on each of the rows of stitching, which is really beautifully done, very well executed, really no errors, and really a beautiful shoe as a result. So that is the first pair. I'm going to put the other shoe up just so you have a pair to kind of consider as you look at your shoes. So there you go. Here's your pair. That's sort of the almond shaped, kind of slightly rounded last. The profile of the shoes there. You can see the shoes together. And again, that beautiful Conceria Chloe crust shell cordovan. So keep this in mind for your leather choice. Beautiful leather. Wanted to show you one other pair before I head off. Also the DRB 1006. This is a year old now. I wore this all of last year, probably 50 to 100 wears. This is a plain toe derby made using a Toscanello horsehide, so a slightly different leather. I cleaned up that leather this past spring, kind of gave it a good brushing and a bit of mild cleaner, conditioner, and polishing. It did darken a little, but this Toscanello horsehide also has really beautiful properties. This also, as I mentioned, has seen a year of wear, and yet you can see how beautiful the leather is. I'll show you the other pair as well, or the other shoe as well, just so you can see it's held up really well. This has a pitched heel. You can request a pitched Cuban style heel, a Woodsman, which has a slightly less curve, or a block heel like you saw in the other shoe, so a little bit more aggressive heel styling. This is a Dr. Soul's Rock Horde half sole, so it has a upper and a lower component. And I wanted to show you the wear after essentially 50 to 100 wears. Very little. You can see I tend to have a bit of supination to my gait, so I wear out the back outsides of my heel pretty aggressively, but the Rock Horde has really held up quite well. You can still see some of the grain in the edge material here. So this is going to last for several years before I need to get it replaced. And these are one of my favorite shoes that I've ever worn, certainly out of the Indonesian community. For those of you who don't know, the Indonesian boot makers are incredibly welcoming, warm, kind, interactive, and you can really have a great pride of ownership when you decide to go for a pair of these shoes. They take about 3 to 4 months to manufacture, from initial email to receiving them, but they are just fantastically made to your specifications in terms of they take your measurements, or you take your measurements and send them to them, and then they build a shoe around those measurements. And generally sizing is pretty darn good, although it's not perfect because it has to be done remotely. So hopefully you have a good experience. But all in all, wonderful maker, Renavgoodsco. Take a good look at them. They are really one of the best in the world, and certainly one of the best out of Indonesia to come around. So have a good day, and I hope you're doing well.